Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday,
Woo!
aka Happy Big Brother premiere, Happy Challenge premiere. We still haven't talked about the Survivor finale, so I did say like we would give like 2 minutes to that. But we are back. It's been a busy summer for both of us. But Zach, look at his dedication. He's in the car. He's ready to podcast. Zach, how are you doing? And how has life been treating you since Survivor? Because we made our Survivor predictions. Survivor finale happened, and we just been kind of chilling. Like, what are your thoughts on the Survivor finale and just your life in general? How's it going?
Who won the Survivor finale? I don't even remember at
Marianne,
this
dude,
point. Oh, it
Marianne.
was Marianne. Of course it was. Of course,
Because
my
we all
queen.
saw it coming.
My
We all saw it
queen.
coming.
We all did see it coming. How am I? I'm so busy right now. I'm very tired, but I could not be more excited. This is my favorite time. I have two favorite times of year. The first favorite time of year is always Christmas for me. It's just the feeling of the holiday. The second favorite time for me is this. It's the beginning of the summer. My birthday just passed. My
Happy birthday.
anniversary, with my wedding anniversary, just
Happy
passed,
anniversary.
and Big Brother begins tonight.
That's right.
I literally, this is my favorite time of year. I feel alive. I feel excited, and
Yeah.
I'm ready to watch.
Well, that's why we're
This is
live
my
streaming.
football.
Yeah, that's why we're live streaming is because we want, to get it in before the finale tonight. I don't want to have to spend time editing it, checking for sound when like we want to get it out there for you all
Yeah,
to digest
just
before
for
it
you to
happens.
all not need our first impressions
Yeah.
anymore.
But
So
yeah, we'll get into it in just a sec. But I just did want to touch on Survivor finale because it was predictable. Our big threats, Lindsay,
yes,
Jonathan got taken out. Our final three, we thought Mike maybe had a chance, but as far as the edit went, Marianne really just ran away with it. Pretty mediocre finale, like nothing crazy happened. Did love Romeo getting that last immunity win, but otherwise a good finale for an otherwise really good season. I think this was a
really good
really solid
season.
season of Survivor, but I am ready to transition to Big Brother talk. But I just did want to touch on that because people were asking, "What do you think of the finale?" It was good. It was predictable.
That's what it was.
I love obviously this season. Some people have been reaching out like, "What are your thoughts on the whole?" Because we didn't podcast the week of the big talk with Drea about race, and I think that's also important to touch on, which we'll also touch on with Big Brother because I think that was such an important part of last season was this idea of
Hmm.
race and having the first black winner. So just really quickly, I do think it's so important that they bring up these real issues in those shows, and we did not
Yeah,
cover it because we were just not podcasting that week. But I do think it's important to say that what Drea did was admirable. I do see where Jonathan was thinking, but I think he also has a lot of growing to do.
yeah,
But I also think it was a great human moment for him even to learn, and for Tori and
yeah.
Lindsay, the other people who weren't necessarily sharing that experience to just learn in that tribal council. I think it was a good pivotal tribal council. So
Yeah.
thank you to all who like asked me to bring it up because I do think that was an important part of the season. And I hope we see that a lot more mirrored in these
Yeah.
shows, just the idea of race and what that means in a game like this, especially when like people in Survivor, it's like you look over the people voted out, and it's black person, black person, black person. There is a pattern, and I'm glad that we're trying to
Right.
break that mold. Last year, Big Brother did the total opposite, and instead ended with their six black
Right.
players. But I think now going forward, we'll see kind of more of a mix of both, where they are conscious of it, but it's not their only sole
Yeah.
strategy approaching the game. But
Just,
any thoughts on that before we transition into Big Brother?
yeah, I mean, Dylan and I have a lot of our own kind of side conversations. There's only so much we can talk about in a podcast before it becomes just monotonous. And you come here to hear our thoughts, of course, but what you also come here is you use this as a portion of your day to kind of, whether you're in the car, you're on a run in the morning, whatever it is, you do this and you use what we talk about. Um, just to like make up a part of your day, which obviously we appreciate endlessly. But because of that, we do have a lot of side conversations just so we can get the things and, maybe something we didn't get to talk about. What we talked about not only during the Survivor finale or during the Survivor season, but a lot during last summer of Big Brother with how important it is we talked about how absolutely incredible this era that we're living in is, where we are finally able to not only talk about and celebrate diversity, but we're seeing diversity become a
Mm-hmm.
more prominent feature within these shows. Something that we
Yeah.
talked about last summer, and the hope that we have, or kind of the anti-hope that we have, is that we the the norm now very easily could be seeing a cookout and going, well, we need to get rid of the people who all look the same. And that's our biggest hope for what now does not occur. And I
Mm-hmm.
agree with you, Dylan. I think that we are going to see, on the flip side, a lot more of this kind of mixture of not only just people within alliances and friendships forming between people of all race, shapes, sizes,
Yeah.
colors, gender identity, things like that. But what's hopeful now is, or what I'm hopeful for, especially with things like what Drea is saying, you have people like Jonathan who maybe don't realize the ignorance that they
Mhm.
unintentionally celebrate and kind of, allowed to flourish. My hope is now that as these people kind of head on to these shows, they realize that with this type of situation, the ignorance that we see, we have to not only do our best
Mhm.
to counter it, but to
Yeah.
also use the platform that we're given to push ourselves in the other direction. Which I will
Definitely. Yeah.
say, from this cast, this new season's cast, we've got a lot of diversity, but
Yeah.
not diversity just in skin color, but just in the different types of people that we're getting
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah, I definitely think casting
Let's
has been doing a much better job of like trying to diversify the cast. Like you said, not just in the skin color and the different ethnic groups and all that stuff, but also with age, with which is still a little bit of a problem. There's still a ways to go with age, but we did see with Big Brother All Stars, they were all older and married, and it didn't make for as dramatic of a season. So maybe they have to find that balance. But we do have a great cast here, 16 people. We had 16 set, one dropped last minute. Very interesting story. Sometimes we forget that these people are multifaceted and very talented. And one of the contestants, Marvin, 28-year-old from Houston, Texas, was actually on America's Got Talent as well at the same time and didn't realize that his contractual obligation was to that show. So they had to strip him from this one. And I
Wow.
hope I hope he gets another shot someday. I hope Christy from last season gets another shot someday. But if they don't, I'm glad they at least got to go through the process, got
I
chosen, felt worthy. But I think I'm now rooting for him in America's Got Talent. I haven't watched this season too
Yeah,
much to know exactly what his act is or if he's part of a group or solo, but I'm excited. Hopefully he will do well on that show. But
I
we got a
will
last minute
say I'm
replacement, which is another thing that happened last year, which is
right.
kind of crazy.
I will say I'm a little upset, and I'm not going to let it taint anything for the season. I'm a little upset to not see Christy this year. I was
Yeah.
really hoping that we'd see her pop back up with kind of like a
Hmm.
second chance, or
Yeah.
even have her. Maybe, I mean, who knows? We might see her come in as a twist tonight. We might see her.
Oh.
It would be cool. It would be cool to see Christy. What I do hope, and kind of my thought process is like, really, you had someone drop out, you didn't call Christy,
Right.
as your alternate, you didn't call
Right.
Christy. But
Well. Yeah.
that being said, there are 15 other people who were in, Christy's boat last year, who made it through, are there, they're ready for
Yeah.
finale night. There's another person who is in, who was our alternate, Claire.
Joe.
There's
Oh
another
yeah.
Claire, which
Yeah,
is
there's a Joseph
absolutely
is now the
insane.
Claire for this year. I think
And
it's interesting because you brought up the twist thing. There may be a twist, and we saw this with Big Brother 19. We saw Paul come in. We've seen it with Big Brother 11. Jesse come in. Like, there's a chance we could get a returnee. But then the other half of it is what we're going to be talking about at the end of this podcast is the challenge. Who do you bring in that is not going to be on the challenge? Because the challenge has Xavier, Kyland, Tiffany,
right.
Derek X, Alyssa. It's like, who do you bring in? So if they're going to bring in someone who was like a fan favorite from last year, I don't think they would bring in Tiffany or DX because they're on the challenge and they probably don't want it to be weird and people questioning why they're on both. Or they will do that and we're going to see Derek X for like 2 hours a night. Or they might go for a classic player if they do this twist, or we're just overthinking it and it's just going to be these 16. But I think,
Yeah, I
you
think
know,
it'll just be these 16, and that's okay
or what
with
if,
me.
hey, here's who's not on the challenge? Maybe Christian, maybe Sarah Beth, maybe Frenchie,
Oh my
maybe Derek
gosh.
F, Hannah. Who knows? It might be fun to see one
Man,
of them come
sometimes
in.
sometimes I forget about
Claire.
Frenchie, and then I
Yeah.
remember and I'm sad
I
again.
mean, hey, if we see Frenchie come in this season, I will not be disappointed because I think if you're gonna have someone come back for a second shot, it should be one of these like early boots who like have something to prove, like even like a Cameron or a Jody. Like, how funny
Yes.
would that be if Jody walks through the house as the 17th contestant? I don't know if we're gonna get 17, but like there are rumors about it. There's also rumors that they want to do a twin twist again, but again, they want to do a twin twist every year. I don't know how many times you can do it without it becoming monotonous or guessable. But let's go talk about the 16 we have. And let's start with our alternate, Joseph. Joseph is a lawyer. There are two Josephs this season. One is going by their last name, one is going by their first name. I believe he's going by just Joseph. Joseph Abden, a 24-year-old lawyer from Florida. He was a late addition, so I didn't really get to see a lot of him. in the press.
Yeah, I
Like
didn't get to see much of anything of him
like
actually.
we'll see with a pattern here, there were not a lot of videos to grab from because they released this cast so late and half of it was Marvin. But Joseph, they did post a tiny little 1 minute clip of him in like his own little separate interview. Kind of bland, kind of stale. I mean, he comes across much more of a lawyer than Xavier did, and I think that's going to be a thing that goes against Joseph. In general, my
Yeah.
thoughts are that the women in this season, at least on a first
Oh
impression,
my
are a
God, the
lot better
women
than
in
the
this
men.
season are gonna. I that is my like
Yeah.
overall first impression. If it's men versus women, the
Mm.
women in this season are here for the slaughter this year.
Yeah,
They
I
are.
really, yeah, I do think it's going to
They
be,
were awesome.
yeah, I do think there's a really good potential for us to get a female winner and maybe even like a big female dominant alliance. We've tried to see so many times, and so we've seen it fail so many times, the women's alliance. But I think Joseph could just come across as that guy who maybe isn't that trustworthy because he is a lawyer. Even if he's not saying he's a lawyer, he might come
Hmm.
across like he is a lawyer just from the mannerisms, the way he speaks. He's also an alternate. I don't know if he knows that, but he is an alternate, and I just don't know if he's going to carry himself differently because of that. Didn't work against Claire, but again, she wasn't able to get in the majority alliance despite
He
being
does
an alternate.
he
So
does know he's an alternate. I mean, spoiler alert, everyone. I've been on this Reddit so many times for casting and whatnot that one thing that they do tell you is they do let you know that you are indeed an alternate on the
yeah.
cast. So he does know that going in. But honestly, if anything, I think what that might do for him is that actually might set him up a little bit more in terms of being a little bit more into the game and into the
Mm.
strategizing because he
Taking that chance and going full out.
when
Yeah.
right when you know that it was so close and it could have been you know you could have just been off and it could have slipped away from you, maybe you take that a little bit more
Yeah.
seriously and I might just be reading into it, but I
Yeah.
think that
No.
that would be really interesting to see from him.
Yep. So what we're gonna do here is because me and Zach are gonna pick like our top four or top five. Let's say our top five are our contenders, and then we're gonna have pre-jury and jury. So like, let's just put him. We can have different qualifications, but I have Joseph in my pre-jury. I just really think
Mm.
he just comes across as someone who's gonna play a little too hard out of the gate. Maybe like a Brent just kind of comes across a little bit more used car salesman. Again, these are just first impressions. So I'm putting him in my five pre-jury because we're gonna have
That's
five pre-jury, six jury, and then five contenders. He's in my five pre-jury. So
that's
we don't have
that's
to
a
rank them, but
pre-jury.
yeah, you're putting in your pre-jury.
That's a
All right.
pre-jury for me. I think that he the only way that I could see him moving out of the pre-jury is if he really gets in good with a really tight alliance.
Yeah.
But like we said, I actually do think that the women are probably going to be a tighter alliance and probably at
Mhm.
the forefront of everything. And he
And we
does
might
not
not see as many alliances in general. Like I
right.
really think
He
there's
doesn't
potential for this to be a Big Brother 20 scenario where it is a little bit bouncing back and forth. And you have your Caitlins and your Haleys and your Scotties who kind of
one
float in the middle a bit.
one can only dream of another Big Brother 20, you know what I mean? One can only dream. Speaking of which, I know we're really going on individuals, but I do want to say really quickly, I'm going to take the opportunity while it's here. One of the things that I did notice a lot so I watched I think you whatever you sent me, Dylan, because I was
Mhm.
trying to look for the
It was
best
the Us interviews, Us Weekly. Yeah.
us interview. What I did notice a lot of coming from all fronts, and I'll talk about this with some individuals, there is a lot of mention of three particular seasons: Big Brother 16, Big Brother 20, and Big Brother 23. And the one thing that I really hope for, my hopeful like kind of first impression, a lot of you can tell who's not really a fan and people who are fans because you have like I believe it's Kyle, who again we'll talk to him.
Yeah.
We'll
Well,
talk about him when we
we
get
want to
there.
talk about him now or
Let's talk about him.
all right.
Kyle, I was a big fan of because he mentioned I'm a Tyler Crispin diehard, and I've mentioned it a million times on this podcast. But what I liked about what he and actually someone else who we'll talk about mentioned are the way that they talked about the way the game was played with actual facts rather than just being like, I think they played a masterful game, which is what a lot of people had to say about Derek. A lot of people had to say
Mm,
about Xavier. These two very like I will say iconic winners, but they had nothing really to say about they had nothing really to say about the gameplay itself. Kyle, on the
mm,
other hand, Kyle is very clearly methodical.
mm,
He's got a lot of knowledge about not just thinking about the game, but thinking about what's important when you get into the house. I liked his answer to the question about would you make waves, and it wasn't an immediate like yes I would make waves. He's like, so this is difficult, like do I make waves or do
yeah.
I kind of like start looking at myself? Kyle I have right now as one of my top five contenders. I think he's a
Oh,
top
okay.
5 contender right off the bat. He's got a great personality, seems very, very personable. I think he's either a top 5 contender or a pre-jury. I have him
I
as a top 5 contender because I think with the right people and with the right relationships, he can go pretty far.
I have him as a pre-juror, and I'll tell you why. I think he comes across as someone who like I it's funny because him and Michael kind of look alike. They got the glasses, they got the nerd thing, but he's much more bro. He's much more frat guy. He's doing the twerking on
Uh
the
huh.
video. He's doing kind of crazy stuff. He's going to be someone who's loud and big personality. He could be your first HOH. I would not be surprised. But the problem
Oh,
is
he
this
screams first
cast,
HOH.
this cast is looking at the threats. They're not going to let Kyle go by. Xavier was a threat, but he was still laying low. Kyland was not a huge like physical presence to where he was a threat. The people who were threats last year were Christian, Brent. I think Kyle's going to fit in the Christian type. I think he's going to be a lot of fun. I think he's going to soak up a lot of screen time. He's going to win a lot of competitions, but the time he's vulnerable, they're going to backdoor him. And I think he could be, I have him right now in my 12th
Mm,
place, like my last boot before the jury, because I really
okay.
do think he could be a huge power player early on, but all it takes is for one power shift, and he's, I think, their primary target. But that being said, he does seem charismatic enough where he could get out of it. He's a 29 unemployed guy from Utah. I know there's been a little hubbub on Twitter about his political views, but again, we have not seen him in action in the house talking about them. So maybe,
Right.
there's, obviously going to be people we disagree with politically. As long as he isn't preaching that in the house, I will
Right.
probably still enjoy his
I hate to
energy.
say it.
Um,
I
yeah,
hate to say it, but and again, I, I mean, you know my political views, and I'll be
right.
loud about them on here, and I've been loud about them before. When it comes to things like Big Brother, unless it's inherently mentioned, I'm not looking on Twitter for anything about them unless it really just like pops up. There is someone whose stuff popped up about, and it
Yeah.
was kind of unavoidable. But
Hmm.
honestly, I'm still not even really trying to take that into account. I'm really using
Hmm.
their interviews as my
Right.
basis.
Yeah.
Um, I
That's
unless
fair.
it really comes up, I agree with you. I'm not trying to make that a part of his gameplay
Hmm.
unless he decides to, and at which point, then it all
Yeah.
becomes fair
Well,
game, in my
and that's why
opinion.
I'm putting him in my pre-juries, not because of any sort of outsider stuff,
Right.
but because I think he is going to be a good player, and I think
Agreed.
we're gonna see one or two good players go early. It's actually funny. My pre-jury is filled with 4 guys and 1 girl. I really am so strong on the girls this season. I think there's just going to be a chance where they just kind of get out some of these big threat guys earlier. But
I
let's go to
oh
Yeah, let's go to
Go
one
ahead,
of the
go ahead, go
girls.
ahead.
I'm going to go to the girl who is very clearly the least experienced in Big Brother, and that is Indy Santos. She is the Brazilian woman in the cast. She lives in LA now, but she is a corporate flight attendant. She's 31. Here's my thing with Indy. Indy could be our next Cat, where she just surprises us out of nowhere, ends up being a fan favorite, or she could flame
Mhm.
out real early. I have her flaming out real early. She's in my pre-jury. She is my one woman in there because I just don't know if her experience is going to help. She very clearly has a language barrier, which shouldn't be held against her. But in the season where you're making social bonds, I don't know if that's going to make her stand
Right.
out, especially because Marvin, who was our other person with kind of an accent and divide there, is not on the season
Yeah.
anymore. And she has said she only watched the last season. She's only watched one season. It was a cookout season. And she
Yeah.
says she relates. Here's what she said. She relates most to Javier, or however you say it.
Javier or Xavier,
I
however he
really think I
pronounces
really think
it.
she was recruited. She was in quarantine. They made her watch
Yeah.
a season. She watched the last one and probably watched like a few episodes of it. Like I really think again, they can surprise. Kat Dunn did not watch the show. Came in, now podcasts about the show. Is a fan favorite,
Right.
one of my favorites of that season. Indy, though, I don't know. She can't get her grounding early on, which I just don't see her doing. I think she's toast early on. But again, I'd love to be surprised because I am rooting for all 16 of these people, or maybe 15 of them, depending on if what is said online is true about one very specific
Right.
person, which we'll get to. But I am rooting for 15 of these people. And Indy, I hope she can get her grounding, but I just don't see it happening. But what are your thoughts
Yeah,
on Indy?
I mean, like you pretty much said it, and I can't. I was watching and I was just like, this is why. And again, we could have a really wonderful season with her. She could end up being a fan favorite, but this is why people get so upset. Like super fans who want to be on the show usually get upset when they see people like Indy because you have someone who's never watched,
Mhm.
has no clue how to play this game, but is sitting there in the chair that they want. That being said, she is not any less deserving to be in that chair than any one of the
Yeah.
rest of us. but it's a little heartbreaking to see someone who is so green, who because the thing about Kat Dunn was that her interviews, she was prepped and ready to go. She knew that she was at a game that she needed to play, and so she had a strategy to play the game. Indy kind of seems very much like, I don't really even know what they want me to do. I'm going to play with integrity, but I don't even
Right.
really know what that really means for this
Mm,
game yet.
right.
So I'm hoping the best for her. When it comes to recruits, I always like to see a recruit come out of the season as a fan favorite, mainly
Derek.
because they went on and they took a risk, and
Yeah.
I would hope that risk would pay off. The reward would be greater than.
Mhm.
Um,
So where do you
Will
put
it
her?
be? We'll find out. She is a pre-jury for me.
Okay.
Unfortunately, she
Yeah.
might, and again, she might be a pre-jury who becomes an easy ally for a very big alliance. She has
Mhm.
that kind of capability. With a player like Indy, she becomes a very ample vote, whether or not she knows the game or not. So,
Mhm.
like if you need a number, because the game, at the end of the day, Big Brother is all about numbers. So at the end of the day, if you need a number, she's an easy
Yeah.
number.
So
Can
let's
we
go to someone.
move?
I was going to segue to someone who does know the game very well, and that is Michael. Because I think that's a very good segue. Because this is probably the person who knows the game the most. And it's not Kyle. Don't worry, people. He has glasses, but that does not make him the same. Look at that cat
And
shirt.
look at his
It's so good.
shirt. He's got a
Yeah.
cat shirt. He's so
Um,
cool.
I love Michael. I love Michael. I think he's going to play with a lot of fun enthusiasm. I'm a
Yeah.
little worried that he might play a little too strong out the gate, but if a majority of these players are playing at the level of him, it might not be a problem. He
Yeah.
just needs to be able to surround himself with the people who want to play the same types of games as him. But right now, of all the guys on the season, I think he's the most savvy in terms of gameplay strategy and
Yes.
probably the most poised to probably win the game of the guys. I think. I might be wrong,
I
but I
agree.
love
I
Michael. I
agree
really
with
do.
that.
What are your thoughts on Michael? Who is, by the
He
way, let me say what
scream
his
he
job is. Michael is an attorney. He is 28. He's an attorney. I didn't even realize he was an attorney, and I think that's the thing is he's not going to come
God,
across as an attorney
no.
quite like someone like Joseph is. But
He screams Andy Herron. He
yeah,
screams Ian Terry. He
okay, yeah,
screams Steve. But what I like about him a lot is that he's he's super calm. He
yeah,
like in his interviews, he scares me because he is stone cold. Again,
hmm
I refer like those interviews that I watch, they asked him what I loved was they asked the question of would you take your top ally or the person who's easiest, and with no hesitation he was like the person who's easiest to beat
yeah,
because I'm here to win the money. And I was like, that's the person I want to win this game.
hmm
I don't need, you can tell who's new to the game versus someone who knows the game well by if they're like, I want to play with integrity. And I'm like, my guy, you don't win this game with integrity. You play the game and can play it with integrity. But if you're trying to get to the end, you either need to be playing with other people who are playing
right,
with integrity or you need to not, because if you look at someone like
hmm
Xavier absolutely played with integrity, but where Xavier got lucky is that he went up against someone who had zero integrity, which was
yeah,
Kyland. Zero integrity. The people who are, you can play with integrity but still take the person who's easiest to beat.
hmm
You can
yeah,
still win and keep your
I agree.
integrity while
Yeah,
taking the person who's
yeah.
easiest to beat. I think he's going to be a great player. He's one of my top 5.
Yeah, he's one of my top 5 as well. My only issue is he too much of a game bot to the point where he plays a great game, but at the end people kind of pick up on it. He could
Right.
it the thing is I think he's going to surround himself with enough people to get far, but I have him at like my 4th place. Like I don't know if he's going to quite crack the top because I just think he's too good at the game, or at least he comes across like he's too good at the game to let him get that far. It was almost like when we were
Right.
looking at the cookout. When you got rid of Tiffany and Hannah, it was either Kyland or Xavier, and as soon as the power was there, you got out Kyland, and it was smooth sailing. I could
Yeah.
very well see Michael being that last boot you get rid of for them the smooth sailing. But if he gets to the end, he's going to make a good case for himself, and he could be the second
Yes.
kind of that archetype of the Andy Herron type to win. I didn't see the Ian and Steve comparisons because I think he's a little bit more. He almost comes across a little bit more athletic than them and a little bit more
Mm,
confident than them. But I do see the nerd type, and I do think that type does
yes.
well on this game. We've seen it time and time again. Who do you want to segue to next?
So I want to segue to someone who now kind of falls because we haven't really talked about anyone who's been in our jury phase. I'm going to segue to
Yeah.
someone who I think is post jury. And funny enough, I believe I just want to make sure that I got the right person. And only because I feel like I've only seen their faces for so long. Um, the person who I have, oh no, I actually have her a pre-jury. Dang, I was gonna
That's okay.
segue.
Let's talk about her
Um,
anyway.
you know what? I'm gonna say it. Taylor. Taylor. I have Taylor in my pre-jury, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Hold on, wait, let me
Taylor
find her. Oh, Taylor.
seems
Okay, Taylor. Yes,
so.
Taylor, who is
Taylor to me,
Taylor, who is a former Miss USA, I believe. Yes, former Miss Michigan and former
yes.
Miss USA. She is also a personal stylist, and she is 27.
So Taylor to me seems like she first of all, she's got a great handle on the game. There's no doubt about that.
Mhm.
She speaks very eloquently when referring to the game, and you always like to see that in a player. Now, why is she my pre-jury, you may be asking? Well, let me tell you why. The thing about Taylor that kind of screamed I'm not making it past the pre-jury is the way that she really talked about making waves.
Mm.
And the unwavering alliance to people who you are close to, I think, is a valiant way to play the game. However, in the early phases of the game, when tensions are always going to be high because there's too many people to choose from, so every little decision feels like a personal attack. It is very easy to feel confronted or to feel like you want to confront. And Taylor to me gives a little bit more of a I'm going to confront you and feel like it's personal when in reality it's just a part of the game. And I
Mm.
worry that that's going to become something
Mhm.
people struggle with feeling like it might be a liability.
Interesting.
And I don't want to see that for her. I
Yeah,
want her to go far. I just worry that she won't because of something like that.
yeah. I was gonna say if there's anyone next to Michael who knows the most about the game, it's her. I mean, he has seen Big Brother Over the Top and the international seasons, but
Oh,
she,
I
when
disagree.
she's been
There's one other person who has also
Oh,
seen
okay. Well,
just
we'll
as
see
much,
it.
and she's later for me.
Oh, I think I know, yeah, who you're talking about. But she, Taylor, was talking about Daniel Reyes, some of these older players, and I'm like, you know what? I like someone who has clearly done the research,
Yes,
even if because she said she's a new fan, but she has gone back and done the work. She wants to see how the strategy has evolved, and I could see her. The thing is, I think making waves, there's always a red flag, but at the same time, Rachel Riley made waves, Dr. Will
right.
made waves, Dan Giesling made waves, Vanessa Russo made waves. Like making waves is not necessarily a bad thing. It's about how you recoup who you have backing you when you're making those waves. Paul made
Right.
waves. It's just that Paul's waves got him washed up ashore with people with seagulls who were not pleasant to see him on their beach. I think really just or them, sorry. But I really
No,
do think
that's not all eyes.
Taylor is someone who, like you said, is so ready to make big moves. But I think once you get into the house, I mean, I think you've got to say to an extent in pre
Right.
interviews to make things entertaining that you're going to make a lot of waves. But I really do think she'll be calculated enough to know when not to, especially early on. But I think, like we said, it's such a girl, like a strong girl power season just from looking at this cast.
Hmm.
And I really do think she could be one of those people who runs a girls' alliance and does it successfully. She's in my top 5 because
Wow.
I really do think she's got a good head on her shoulders. She just comes across so well spoken. She almost comes across as Chanel did last year in Survivor, where like she almost
Okay.
seems so perfect
Yeah.
on paper that I'm almost worried that she's going to be too perfect, where she overplays, and that's what happened with Chanel. She didn't overplay, but she just kind of like didn't really I don't know. Chanel just didn't rise up to her preseason potential. But I think in Big Brother, you have a lot more time to sit and to think and to reassess. And I
Yes.
think Taylor's going to be very good at that. Also, she's beautiful. She's going to be able to flirt with a lot of the guys, and she'll be able to cut those guys if they cross her because I think she's strong enough and strategic enough. I think she could also win some HOHs. I think she's just a very well rounded player overall on paper. Again, these are first impressions, but I have her really high. She's in my top 5. So I think this is interesting. Kyle's in your top 5. He's in my bottom 5. Taylor's in your bottom 5, my top 5. So we have some divide. But let's go for someone who I have in my jury. I don't know if you do. And it's because he wants to play the incredibly loyal game. It's Monty.
Oh
Monty's in
yeah,
my
he's in my
jury
jury,
phase.
baby. He's in
All
my
right, so we
jury.
finally reached someone who's been both our jury phase because he just comes across as the most like average of everyone. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't have anything that's polarizing, but nothing that's overly like red flaggish, but nothing that's overly charming. Like he's just very naturally nice guy, but doesn't have that extra little twinkle in his eye spark that I
Hmm.
think is gonna be like a Kyland or an Xavier where you go that extra
Yes.
mile and you have a chance of winning the game. He kind of comes across as one of those guys you might see like almost like a what's his name from Big Brother 19, like a Matt who was with Raven, or even like a Mark of that season, who's like a kind of good player, but never really has the win equity and kind of just goes
Right.
around the mid jury phase. Like a Nick in Big Brother 21, like a Nick
Yes.
Macaroni or whatever his last name was, like who's just there and is a big part of the game, but never really has the win equity because he's just kind of there and he's loyal and to a fault. He has said he's going to be loyal to a fault, and I'm just worried that he's just going to kind of win some comps, be kind of the strongest guy left around like 8th, 7th place, and they just kind of take him out there, which sucks because I think he's going to be a nice guy. But again, he was probably the least intriguing of everyone just because he was so even leveled, which is good. Level-headedness is good, but also just
Right.
not the best TV. But what are your thoughts on Monty?
I don't have much to add on that. He seems like a really great team player, which can be a great thing in the game, but he also
Mm-hmm.
just seems like he's not. I don't really know if he has what it takes to make it to the
Mm-hmm.
end, and that's part of the longevity of the game is such a big part of what makes.
Oh, I think Zach froze. Did Zach freeze or did I freeze? Zach, hello. All right, I'll just keep going because I just also want to bring up he is a personal trainer. He is 27. So there's also that element of like if someone's gonna win this first HOH, maybe it could be him. I did say Kyle might be able to win that first HOH. I'm thinking maybe there's a good chance a girl will win this first HOH. I just think this girl power is really strong with this season. But I don't know. I think Monty could be your first HOH. I'm gonna text Zach and see if he's okay. Let me just text him. And I will continue. I'll let Zach give the thoughts on the people that are coming in next. Let's do someone that I just don't really know how to read, and that is Jasmine. Jasmine is a very interesting casting choice. She definitely pops. All right, Zach is fully gone. He will rejoin the stream soon. Jasmine just pops on the screen. She is very bubbly, charismatic. Got a cute little accent. She is let me find her information. She's an entrepreneur from Georgia. She's 29. So kind of just right in that middle age range, which is good. But I just really can't get a read of like where she's gonna place in this season. She doesn't give me winner vibes. She doesn't strike me as an early boot. I think she'll be around for a while, but I just don't really know where to place her. Zach is back. Sorry, Zach.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. My phone overheated.
Oh, that's okay. I
So
hope
because
you're
it's
okay.
it's 90
Yeah.
degrees in New
Oh, I'm
Jersey
so
and
sorry.
it's very, very hot.
Yes,
Um,
I was just talking about Jasmine because she's someone I just really can't read, kind of like Monty. But Monty, I can read in the sense that I think he's going to be a team player and all that. Jasmine could end up being a huge personality, or like could flame out early. She kind of gives me like rock star vibes, where like I just don't see her fitting in like a big alliance, but
yeah,
she could at least maybe like be an entertaining presence and personality, maybe get in a few fights, maybe just be a sweetheart. I don't know. Jasmine seems very sweet, but she's just kind of the one I'm most like up in the air about. She's in my jury
yes.
phase as well. I can see her making the jury, but I
She's
just don't think she has win equity. What are your thoughts on Jasmine?
she's in my jury phase too, and kind of in the similar realm. I don't get a good read. I don't get a good read. I
Mhm.
can't figure out what
Right.
exactly it is about her that makes her a good player. And that's always, I think, kind of like what you were saying, she has the ability to make some good waves and really keep the game interesting, but it's not exactly something that takes her to the end. I think she will be fierce, just like every other woman
Mhm.
we've got on this season. But I think that at the end of the day, she's not going to make it far enough to secure those votes. She's in my
Gotcha.
jury, though. She's in my
Gotcha.
jury.
So, who do you want to segue to next, Zach?
Um, I have two people because I did tell Dylan when I started this. Unfortunately, because of just the business of that is life, I do have a hard out at 5 o'clock today. So I want to
Okay.
make
Oh
sure that I
shoot,
get.
I forgot about
I
that. Oh shoot.
I
Okay.
know, but you know what? And I didn't even realize. I love talking about Big Brother. I have two people that I really, really want to discuss. And it's because two of them. Actually, I have three people that I want to discuss.
All right, let's
Um,
discuss those and then we'll rapid fire through the rest.
okay.
Who are your three?
The
I
first I want
assume
to
one of
talk
them
about.
is yeah. Go ahead.
The first I want to talk about is Terrence.
Okay.
He
Yes,
is one
I'm
of my
excited for him.
pre-jury phases.
Oh. Oh shoot. Okay,
Terrence
I'm in my jury because I like it, Terrence. I like Terrence.
Terrence screams to me, I'm a nice guy, so I think I'll make it far. And
Mm,
that drives me nuts. And listening, he was talking about Derek and Xavier, and he was like, I see a really similar game to me. I see in them a really similar game to mine. And for me, that is always my immediate, like, I'm out. I don't.
Yeah. Okay.
I need no more
Yeah, I
because
have him
what
more
we.
as I have more as a Cliff figure. Like I really think he could just like ride a good alliance and be in a presence for most of the season. But I don't know. I agree.
I have him
I don't
more
know.
as a Steve. I have him more as a
Oh, okay.
Steve from BB20 who
Okay.
comes in with this great idea, and
Mhm.
then all of a sudden it just.
Yeah. All right.
And
So who? Yeah. I
I
was
was
gonna
just
say
gonna
let's just
say
keep it going. Yeah.
he's got potential, but I think at the end of the day it's gonna fizzle out.
All right. Who
These
else you
are
want to
my
talk about?
two. I've talked about. Oh shoot! I have my three other top five. I'm gonna give you my
It's
rapid
okay.
fire top five.
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
My first top five is Brittany. I
Yeah.
love
I like
her.
Brittany a lot.
I
She's in my
love
jury, but
her.
I like her. Yeah. Yeah.
I think the reason she's at my top five is because again, I feel like this is a woman heavy season, and I feel like she's if there is an alliance, she's probably one of the people at the head of it.
Yeah. Okay.
She's got such she like Michael and like Taylor has such a great knowledge of the game, but not as much as Michael, but for more than Taylor for me, she seems incredibly level-headed, incredibly well-rounded in terms of what kind of game she wants to play. She understands the idea of it. But what I love, Dylan, is that she talked about her favorite player. And do you remember who her favorite player was?
Nicole Anthony,
Nicole Anthony. And
which
who
a lot of
says that
people on
they're
Twitter were really upset about. People were
which
like
but
calling her off.
and what that tells me about her though is that she understands that at the end of the day, people want to root for the
Yeah.
underdog,
I agree.
and that was a game that if Nicole had gotten to the end, she probably could have won.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
my thing about Brittany though is that I feel like she's gonna play like Brittany of last season and like be such wear her heart on her sleeve and play really big, but not be able to find that group that she
right,
can click with. I have her as an early jury boot because of that. I just don't know if she's gonna be able to like go that extra mile, but I do love Brittany as like a
right.
personality. I think she'd be a fan favorite contender.
Um,
One other thing I wanted to bring up before we get there is just another Alyssa we have on the season as well. She's also someone that I really didn't
yes,
know what to do with. She's in my jury phase as well. I just think I'm
she's
not
also
really
my
getting
jury
any
face.
yeah, I'm not any getting any huge like contender vibes from her, but I think she'll make the jury. I just see her as like
Yes,
that young girl that like people maybe think is someone they should target early jury phase. But she's lumped in with Jasmine and Brittany as like my three early jury women boots who are just like not really finding that control, but are just kind of
yes.
around and they
Um,
just kind of take out of the jury. But yeah, so continue along with your contenders.
I'm gonna say these are my two winner contenders, and one of them I
Oh,
can see taking the whole game.
okay,
Holy crap, I think they're gonna be so good. The
okay.
first is Amira. Um,
Okay, Amira, I have as a late jury pick, but yeah, I like Amira. Tell me about Amira.
she I don't know what it is. She's like magnetic. She just
Mm,
seems so wonderful. She seems easy to get along with,
yeah.
like an absolutely gorgeous personality. But even
Mm,
more so than that, she's ready to play the game.
mm.
She's got a lot of fire in her. You can hear it when she talks. She right now is my second place. I
Oh,
would
okay.
pick her as my
Yeah.
second place.
Can I
I
tell you
think
my
she's
second
so
place
good.
while we're on
Yes.
it? My second place, and because she gives me such Casey vibes, is the private chef Nicole. I love Nicole.
Oh,
I think Nicole's gonna be really fun. I think she's a little bit older. She is, I believe, 41. So she's gonna be able to like I think appeal to a lot of different people, but she's still got a young spirit, and she's a private chef. That goes a long way. People kept Joe around in
yes.
season 14 because he could cook.
Yes.
I think she's gonna be around because she can cook, but she gives me Casey vibes in terms of like I think she could lay low, but then kind of heat it up at
Yes.
the end. She's my second place prediction because I don't think she's gonna have that winner instinct, but I think she could be someone that people just trust enough to take to the end,
Right.
but know they can still beat, but who's gonna be kept around a while because she can cook and she's very nice. So she's kind of like my Amira. Like I just don't see
I've
any red flags with her. I really like her. Where do you have
I've
her?
got her in like third or fourth for that pretty much the same reason. I think
Oh,
she's
so
going to
she's
be
your
a,
fifth
a
of your contenders?
no. Oh, sorry.
Oh, third or
Uh,
fourth juror. Okay,
late
gotcha, gotcha,
jury boot. Late jury
gotcha,
boot.
gotcha, gotcha. Okay, okay.
I think she's a really great personality.
Mm,
She's going to be good at physical
yeah,
competitions, but I feel like if it comes down to a hard vote where someone can't figure out who to get rid of, she might be an easy one to
right.
throw up on the block and just
Yeah.
say like, you know what,
Um,
Nicole, you had your time. Thanks
yeah.
for the food.
Before you get to your winner pick, let's rattle off everyone else that is not your winner pick
Okay,
because we still have three other names. So tell me who left remaining because we have four names left. Tell me which of those four. Tell me three of those four that aren't your winner picks, and I'll tell you just where I put them.
Matt.
Yeah, he's my first boot prediction. I just
First boot, baby.
he's going by
He's
Turner.
out tonight.
Yeah,
He's
he's
out
going by
tonight,
Turner.
baby.
We've seen some problematic stuff of him on the internet. You can look it up. The person posting it is also a little bit problematic too. But like we've heard some problematic stuff that he said. I'm not going to hold it against him yet until like because you don't know if that's true or not. But again, it gives me a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth going into it. He just didn't seem like someone who I think has longevity in the
and
game.
and
I'm rooting for
knows
him to be the
nothing
first pick.
about the game as far as
Yeah,
I'm concerned. Called Cody
Cody
California.
California.
Like
Yeah,
he knows nothing, and I think
he.
his favorite player was
Mhm.
Rockstar. And here's the thing: no tea, no shade at Rockstar. Rockstar and I are tight on Twitter. I love Rockstar. She will be the first one to admit that she is not going to be your favorite player.
Yeah.
That seems to me like someone who just likes the vibe and has no
Yeah.
idea what it takes to
Matt
win.
could go far if he's just kind of like dragged along as like a fun little,
Yes.
like kind of like a side comedic kind of thing, like a James or Johnny Mac. But I really just don't see him getting much further than he's my first boot prediction as well. Who else
Yes.
is on your not?
The Pooch.
You have two other jurors. Yeah, Pooch is one of your jurors. He's
The
one of my
Pooch.
pre-jurors. Yeah.
He was almost one of my pre-jurors, but I think you always need a kind
Mm,
of Pauly Calafiori in that post jury
interesting.
to kind
Yeah.
of like get you along.
Yeah.
He seems like he's gonna, and you know what? I will say he does seem to know a good amount about the game, which is always a good thing on someone's
Mm,
side to know a little bit. Whereas like Brett knew nothing about the game last
right.
year. He's got that same vibe, but he knows enough about the game. I don't think he'll get too alpha
Mm.
male. I think he'll
It's
get a little
interesting.
bit more like, oh, I gotta lay
Yeah.
low for a second because I'm pissing people off.
It's interesting because I at first was thinking of him as a Brett, and then Brent when I watched his
Brent.
videos, I liked him a lot more. But again, is it Brent or Brett? I don't remember.
It's
But
Brent. Brent is
oh,
last
okay.
year.
I didn't really love him, but then when I watch his videos, I liked him a lot more. But I still think he's someone who just comes across like he could be someone that they take out early because he's strong, but a little more soft spoken. He just didn't really scream anything to me, so he's in my pre jury as well. So who's your last juror before we get to your winner pick? We
Oh,
have two
Dylan.
left. If I'm
Dylan,
remembering.
we haven't mentioned these two yet, and one of them could be our winner pick because
Two of
we
them are
didn't.
in my top five. So right now
And
you have.
one has to be your winner pick, right?
Well, no, we might have already said my winner pick, so we might cycle back. But you tell me who else is in your juror. This is in my top five, but who else is in your juror?
Jasmine is in my jury.
Oh, we already talked about Jasmine. We
Oh
already talked about
shoot.
it.
Oh,
Yeah,
then I'm
we're
done.
down to Daniel and
Oh,
Paloma. We haven't talked
Daniel,
about.
we didn't talk about. Daniel is also in my jury though.
Okay, he's my third place like fan favorite. Like I think Daniel's gonna
Yeah,
do really well. I think he's gonna do
I
much
think he'll
more
have.
better than people think he's gonna do. He's an Elvis impersonator. I love his energy. I think people are thinking he's gonna be annoying, but I think he's actually gonna be a blast.
Nah,
He
I
almost
think
gives me
he's going to be a
Frank.
ton of fun.
He gives me Frankie Grande vibes without a lot of the drama, but again, he gives
Yeah.
me James Hewling vibes to the
Don't
point
talk
where
about my
I
friend
could see
Frankie
him.
like that.
I could see him being third place, because he's so likable. Like he's my third place pick because I really do
Yes.
like him, but I think he's gonna come up just short because he's likable. But tell me about your
Dylan,
winner pick.
my winner pick.
Wow, I can't believe it.
Say it for me.
It's Paloma.
Paloma, baby.
Wow. Okay,
This
tell me about her.
girl,
Yeah.
I think she's coming to win it. So I've seen a
Wow.
couple things on Twitter about her. This girl is
Interior
smart
designer, 22. She's the youngest on the cast.
and she's incredibly intelligent.
Yeah. Okay.
She speaks eloquently. Again, she's another Tyler Crispin fan, so maybe that's a little bit biased. But she's not just a Tyler Crispin fan. She's a Tyler Crispin fan who said, "I know what people are going to think when they see me, just like they thought what they were going to think when they saw him, and I'm going to use that." And I think
Yeah.
she speaks so eloquently. She seems like such a cool person. Her answers were very calculated, very specific. I love her. I want her to
Okay.
do well. I think she's gonna
She's
win
my
it all, baby.
she's in my top five. She's my number five because here's how I have it going. Because I think Paloma is going to be really great. I looked at Paloma and Alyssa almost as the same archetype, but then when I looked at the two of them, I was like, Alyssa seems like she's going to be more there for the social, for the showmance. Maybe Paloma looks like she could be there for the showmance, but because it's a strategy, kind of like a
Right,
Jess and Cody, like where you do feel a romantic something, but you're using it to further yourself in the game, like a Rachel and Brendan, like Jeff and Jordan, where
right,
like you could be in a showmance but also be a power player. I really
right.
like her. I only have her outside the top five because I like other players more. I think Michael is my fourth boot, where like I could see them cutting him toward the end, Daniel cutting him before the end. My winner pick, which is hilarious because you put her in your bottom five, is Taylor. I like Taylor. I
Wow.
really like Taylor.
Wow.
She's the person I think is just the most well-rounded going in and seems to be the least threatening of the two people that are most well-rounded. Her and Michael are
Right.
the most well-rounded, but I think Taylor just is going to be able to control her threat level
Interesting.
better. I think she's going to be able to get with the girls. I think this is a girl power season though. So if Taylor and Paloma are the final two, we're in for a good season because those are our predictions.
Well, I guess we're gonna
Yeah.
find out starting
Yeah.
tonight.
So
Let's go.
first place prediction. I'm predicting a Taylor Nicole final two with Taylor winning. You're predicting a Paloma Amira final two, correct? With Paloma winning, is that what you're
Yes,
going with?
correct.
All right. And we both have Michael in our top 5. You have Brittany and Kyle. I have Daniel and Nicole. It's going to be a really interesting
It's gonna be
final,
a good season.
or
It's
going to
gonna
be a
be a
good
good.
season.
I think this
Yeah,
is gonna be a good season. We're
yeah.
gonna see.
So,
I
so who's your first boot prediction? Are we in the
My
same
first boot is
realm? We're going to
Matt.
pick
He's
similar.
gone.
Yeah,
He's
Turner.
out of
Yeah,
here.
Matt
He's
Turner. Yeah.
out of here.
Except if they do make it further, I do want to see Pooch and Matt team up because Matt is going to be going by Turner. Pooch
Yes.
is going to be going by Pooch, and then we could
Pooch
get
and
Turner and
Turner and
Pooch,
Pooch.
which is like
Turner and
Turner and
Pooch,
Hooch.
baby. Oh
So
my
so
god.
Turner and Hooch,
Yeah.
Turner and Pooch. I would love to see that alliance, but otherwise, yeah, Turner can go. But again, I hope everyone brings something this season, even if it's a
Yes,
negative thing. Like I hope they go guns blazing. I know you, Zach, you have to run. Any last thoughts
I
before we
do.
head off? Because I'm gonna give my quick challenge thoughts. Any quick challenge thoughts before you go?
You absolutely none right now.
Okay,
Absolutely none.
we'll talk about
I
it after
will give
the
them though.
premiere. But
My quickest thought is that if you watch TV, you can find me on a Big Brother commercial this year, which is pretty freaking cool. I don't know if
that's right.
Dylan even knew about this,
I
but I
knew
think
about.
he does. You can find me on a commercial. As
I
I say
forgot
in
about
the
it.
commercial, this is the best part of the summer. This is the best part of the summer.
Is
I'm
it
so
airing
excited
yet
to
or no?
watch these guys. It's airing. It's some people
Okay, cool.
found it. Some people I got
Nice.
texts about it.
Cool,
Um,
cool.
this is the best part of the summer. I love you guys. I cannot wait to spend weeks upon weeks just
Yes.
talking about Big Brother with everybody.
Yes.
Have a
Thank you so much,
great
Zach.
day. Dylan, I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, I'm going to stay on here and talk about the challenge. But Zach, once he watches the challenge premiere, because none of us have watched the challenge, I think that's going to be fun too. Those are our Big Brother predictions. My prediction: Taylor are going to win it all. His is Paloma. He has Taylor in his bottom 5, so this is going to be a very interesting scenario. I like the Paloma pick, very out of left field. Just knowing Zach, I thought he was going to go for a Michael or maybe a Amira or Brittany. But yeah, so really quickly about the challenge, we've got our challenge cast. I don't know the challenge, so we're going to be fresh viewers of the challenge. We're going to be experiencing it in real time, but we do have past Survivor contestants and Big Brother contestants and Amazing Race contestants and Love Island contestants. So it's going to be really fun to see. As for the Survivor contestants, I really like Dominic. He was great on his Ghost Island season. I like Tyson. I like Ben. I don't know how much of an actual physical demand the challenge is. I assume it's more physical than strategic. If it is strategic and physical blended, I think Tyson and Dom are going to be the best. But if we're going strictly physical, I think Danny McRae is going to be the guy to look out for from the Survivor bunch. As for the girls, again, if we're going physically, I think Tasha is going to be really great. Shan really didn't win many challenges on her season. Desi is a really nice wild card because I didn't see a lot of Desi on Heroes vs. Healers versus Hustlers. And then Sarah Lucina. Sarah's made it far on many a season. But I think, the best blend of strategy with physical, I honestly think Desi could be your sleeper pick for the Survivor women. So I'm going to pick Danny and Desi as my Survivor man and woman to root for. Love Island, I just don't know Love Island well enough, but I do know Cache and I do know Cinco. So I'm just going to say Cinco and Cache are my 2 picks for Love Island. For Amazing Race, there aren't many between Leo and James for the guys. I think Leo is much more physically inept for the challenge than James. Again, I have not watched the challenge, so I don't know. James is going to be a lot of fun to watch, though. I liked his strategic sense that he brought to the game. And then we only have one woman who's from the Amazing Race, Kayla, but I think Kayla is going to be very strong. I don't know if an Amazing Racer is going to win the challenge. I know a boy and a girl wins this show, so I'm not really considering any of the Amazing Racers to win. And kind of the same with Love Island, maybe Cinco, maybe Cache. You know what? I'll still keep them as contenders, but if I had to say, Leo and Kayla would be my Amazing Race picks. And then Big Brother. Big Brother is going to be really interesting because David, I don't think he has a shot just because I don't think he's got the strategic stuff. Enzo, I just don't see winning actual challenges. Then you have people like Derek X and Kylan who could win challenges but don't come across as these like big macho guys. I honestly think Xavier is going to be probably the most well-rounded for this challenge as well. But because he's a winner, maybe I am going to go with someone like a Derek X. But Derek X is just so likable that maybe he's a target. I don't know how the game works, so I'm just going to say Xavier is my pick for the guys. And then for the girls, a lot of great girls here from Big Brother. Azza, Tiffany, Alyssa from last season. I love them all. I think Alyssa is underrated, especially as a physical competitor. I just don't know if Tiffany and Ozza are going to be able to do the challenges. We didn't see them win a ton of challenges last season on Big Brother, but again, these challenges are different. Maybe they'll be able to prove themselves. But what I'm really looking at is Angela. I think Angela is going to be really strong. Angela was really strong on her season with Tyler. Like those two really did win so many comps and really ran the game. So my contenders for the challenge, having known nothing about it except that there are strategic elements, but it's mostly a physical game. For the guys, I've got Danny McRae from Survivor, 41. I have got Cinco from Love Island 3. I've got Leo from Amazing Race, a bunch of different Amazing Races. And I've got Xavier from Big Brother 23. For the girls, I have Sorry about this. Where is she? Where is she? Desi from Survivor Heroes vs. Healers vs. Hustlers. I have Kayla from The Amazing Race. I have Cachet from Love Island, and I have Angela from Big Brother 20. Those are the predictions for who I think is just going to go far. Again, once we see the challenge, we'll know like how the game works and how that's going to go. But thank you, Zach, for tuning in. I know he had to run, but I just wanted to give my quick challenge thoughts. Fun cast. I'm excited to see a lot of these faces back. People like Dominic, people like Desi, people that we just haven't seen go again in some of these shows. And then faces we've seen a bunch of times, like a Tyson or an Enzo or a David Alexander. I think it's gonna be really fun to watch. So stay tuned. Next week, sometime we will be talking about the Big Brother premieres. Maybe an eviction will have happened by then. Maybe we'll have seen some big twist. Maybe we'll have lost two people by then. Maybe we'll have another contestant like Derek X or something joining this season. Who knows? But I'm excited to be talking with Zach about that to see if Paloma and Taylor are still around. Zach famously picked Zach from Survivor as his winner pick for Survivor 42, and he was the first boot. So, or the first vote off. Jackson was the first boot, but I'm really excited to see if our predictions turn out well. We have Turner as our common first boot prediction. But yeah, we'll be talking about Big Brother. We'll be talking about the challenge season premiere. I'm very excited to see the challenge because I've never seen it. Very excited to see it. We're at 50 minutes, so I'm going to end it now. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to comment down below, what other reality shows do you want us to see? Do you want to see from us on Monday? We're getting more Bachelorette, which is also something we got to talk about. But we typically don't talk about the cast assessment until after the first episode because we just don't know these people well, and it's hard to tell off of pictures who's going to be most romantically have the most chemistry with Gabby and Rachel. Like, how are we going to know that from pictures? So stay tuned. We will be talking about Bachelorette, Challenge, Big Brother for the rest of the summer. It's going to be a jam-packed summer. If you want to talk with us, like literally comment below. Also head up to the Dill Pickle Movie Network Facebook page if you want to be a part of some of the shows we got on this channel, like Draft Day, which I'm hoping to do some sort of reality TV draft later in the season, just to kind of embrace that side of the channel. And then Marvel Trivia, again, signups will be up there as well, and just to kind of be a part of the discussion and tell us what you think of these videos and these shows. So thank you guys. We're back. Recipe for Reality. Who had the recipe for reality? It's hard to say because we haven't gotten into the season yet, but I'll give the recipe for reality to Marianne, who won her season of 40 Survivor 42. Very well deserved win. We kind of saw it coming, but that doesn't make us any less or more proud of her. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, Zach, again. Hope you're having a great rehearsal. I know we had to head out early, but thank you guys for bearing with me for the last 5 minutes as I talk about the challenge. Enjoy the premiere. Enjoy the premiere tonight. I'll see y'all next time. Have a good one.